The Galactic Council Chamber was the largest room in the known universe. Representatives from 47 species sat in a massive circle, their seats rising like steps in an ancient theater. Blue light filled the space, and the air smelled of 100 different worlds. Today, they were voting on the fate of humanity. Ambassador was old even by standards. His silver skin had faded to gray and his 4 eyes were tired. He had watched countless species rise and fall, but humans were different. They were young, barely 1,000 years into space travel, yet they had already changed everything. High Arbiter stood at the center of the chamber. He was Al, the galaxy's apex predator, 7 feet of scaled muscle, with teeth like knives and eyes that showed no mercy. His species had ruled through fear for 10,000 years. No one challenged the Al. No one survived if they did. "The humans must be contained," said, his voice like grinding stone. "They are dangerous. They are unpredictable. They wage war against their own kind. If we allow them to spread, they will bring chaos to every corner of this galaxy." Murmurs of agreement filled the chamber. Many species feared humanity. They had seen the human wars, the weapons, the destruction. Earth had nearly killed itself a dozen times before reaching the stars. Wanted to speak in defense of humans, but he knew his words would mean nothing against influence. The vote would happen soon, and humanity would be locked inside their solar system forever. Then the alarms began. Every screen in the chamber lit up with warnings. Something had dropped out of hyperspace too close to the station. Far too close. The kind of close that usually meant an attack. "What is happening?" demanded. The station master, a small creature with too many arms, checked his screens with shaking hands. "A ship. It came from human space. It is damaged. They are requesting emergency docking." The chamber erupted in chaos. Species shouted over each other. Some demanded the ship be destroyed. Others wanted to hear what the humans had to say. Raised his clawed hand and silence fell immediately. "Destroy them. They have no invitation. They have no right to be here." "Wait," said, rising from his seat. His old bones ached, but his voice was still strong. "There is an ancient law, the law of refuge. Any species may seek emergency shelter at this station. It was written before the Al joined this council. Even you cannot ignore it." His eyes narrowed. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he turned away. "Fine, let them dock. Let them show us what kind of creatures they really are." The human ship was called the Horizon's Edge. It was small, barely larger than a transport shuttle. Smoke trailed from its engines and burn marks covered its hull. It had been through a battle recently. The docking bay doors opened, and 8 humans walked out. Their leader was a man named Daniel. He was not tall or particularly strong. His hair was dark, cut short, and his face was calm despite the hundreds of alien eyes watching him. He wore a simple uniform, nothing fancy, nothing threatening. Behind him walked his crew, including a woman with sharp eyes named Lisa Monroe. Every species in the chamber had come to watch. Most had never seen a human in person. They were smaller than expected, softer. They had no claws, no fangs, no armor. How could creatures like this be dangerous? Daniel walked forward without fear. His crew followed close behind. The crowd parted around them like water around a stone. Stepped into their path. The Al towered over Daniel, his shadow blocking out the light. His teeth were bared, and a low growl rumbled in his chest. This was how the Al showed dominance. This was how they made other species submit. Daniel stopped walking. He looked up meeting those predator eyes without flinching. Then he did something no one expected. He extended his hand. "My name is Daniel," he said, "Captain of the Horizon's Edge. We were carrying medical supplies to a colony in the outer systems when pirates attacked us. We barely escaped. We mean no disrespect to this council. We only ask for a chance to repair our ship and continue our mission." Stared at the extended hand like it was a weapon. In Al culture, showing your palm was a sign of surrender. But this human was not surrendering. He was offering something else entirely. "You smell like prey," said slowly. "Weak, soft, your bones would break in my hands." "Maybe," Daniel said. His hand did not move. "But appearances can be deceiving." Lisa translated everything for the council, her voice steady and professional. She had learned the Al language in 6 months, something their scholars said was impossible, but humans had a way of doing impossible things. Did not take the hand. Instead, he turned to the council. "You see, they come uninvited, they interrupt our sacred proceedings, and this one dares to stand before me as if we are equals." He looked back at Daniel. "We are not equals, human. We will never be equals." Daniel lowered his hand, but his expression did not change. "I did not come here to prove we are equal. I came here because my ship is damaged, my crew needs rest, and there are sick people waiting for medicine that we carry. Whatever you decide about humanity can wait until after we have done our job." The chamber was silent. No one had ever spoken to like that. No one had ever been foolish enough to try. Felt something he had not felt in centuries: hope. "The council will continue tomorrow," he announced before could respond. "The humans will be given temporary quarters, their ship will be repaired, and then we will vote on their fate." Wanted to argue, but even he could not override the ancient laws of hospitality. He stepped aside, his eyes never leaving Daniel. As the human captain walked past, spoke one last time. "Tomorrow I will show this council what humans really are, and then you will have nowhere left to run." Daniel paused. He looked over his shoulder and smiled. It was not a threatening smile. It was not a fearful smile. It was the smile of someone who had already accepted whatever would come next. "I have never been very good at running," Daniel said, "but I am excellent at adapting." Then he walked away, leaving standing alone in the blue light of the chamber. For the first time in his long life, the apex predator felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. The next morning came too quickly. Daniel had barely slept. The quarters they gave his crew were small but clean, and the beds were designed for species with very different bodies. Still, his people made do. Humans always made do. Lisa met him outside the council chamber doors. Her eyes were tired, but her mind was sharp. She had spent the entire night studying council law, looking for anything that might help. "It does not look good," she said quietly. "Most species have already made up their minds. They are afraid of us." "Fear is not hate," Daniel replied. "We can work with fear." The chamber was even more crowded than before. Word had spread across the station that something interesting was happening. Species that had no vote came simply to watch. The humans had become entertainment. Daniel and his crew were given seats at the lowest level, facing the entire council. It felt like being surrounded. It felt like being judged, because they were. Wasted no time. He stood at the center and began presenting evidence against humanity. Screens lit up showing human history, wars, weapons, nuclear explosions, cities burning, humans killing humans by the millions. "This is what they do to each other," said. "Imagine what they will do to us." More screens showed human expansion into space, colony ships, military vessels, weapons that could crack planets open like eggs. The technology was young and rough, but it was powerful, dangerously powerful. "They have only been in space for 1,000 years, continued. "In that time they have already built weapons that rival our own. Give them another 1,000 years and they will have weapons we cannot imagine. We must contain them now, while we still can." Several council members nodded in agreement. The fear in the room was thick enough to taste. Then played his final card. "I have obtained classified records from human governments," he said. "Project Hammer, Project Last Resort. These are not defensive programs. These are plans for galactic war. The humans are not peaceful explorers. They are preparing to conquer." The chamber exploded with angry voices. Species that had been neutral before now demanded immediate action. Lock the humans in their solar system, destroy their ships, take away their technology. Daniel sat quietly through all of it. His crew looked at him with worried eyes, but he just watched and listened. Lisa translated everything, her voice growing softer as the accusations grew louder. Finally, the council gave Daniel a chance to speak. He stood slowly and walked to the center of the chamber. He did not bring screens or evidence or dramatic presentations. He just stood there, one small human surrounded by the entire galaxy. "Everything you showed is true," Daniel said. The chamber went silent. No one expected him to admit it. "We have fought wars. We have built terrible weapons. We have killed each other in numbers that would horrify you. I will not pretend otherwise. I will not make excuses." He paused and looked around the room, meeting as many eyes as he could. "But that is not the complete story. You showed our worst moments. You did not show the moments that came after." He turned to face a section of beings. Their representative, counselor, watched him with compound eyes that showed no emotion. 15 years ago, your colony on Prime was attacked by raiders. You sent distress calls to this council. No one came. The distance was too far. The risk was too great. Shifted uncomfortably. The memory was painful. A human cargo ship was passing through that sector. The captain heard your call. He had no weapons. He had no military training. He had a crew of 12 and a ship full of farming equipment. Daniel's voice grew stronger. He went anyway. He landed on your colony and used his cargo haulers to build barricades. He taught your people how to fight. When the raiders finally broke through, he stood at the front line with a metal pipe because he had nothing else. The chamber was completely silent now. 7 of his crew died on Prime. The captain lost his arm, but your colony survived. 3,000 of your people are alive today because one human decided that strangers were worth dying for. Spoke for the first time. Her voice was soft, but it carried through the chamber. "This is true. The human captain is still honored in our songs. We did not forget." Daniel nodded and continued. "Dr. Cooper is a member of my crew. 3 years ago, a plague was spreading through the system. Their doctors could not stop it. Thousands were dying every day." He gestured to a quiet man sitting with his crew. Looked uncomfortable with the attention, but he did not look away. Dr. Cooper spent 6 months in quarantine zones, treating patients he could not touch, breathing air that could kill him. He found the cure. He saved over 2 million lives. They offered him anything he wanted: money, power, a palace. Daniel smiled slightly. He asked for a sandwich and a ride home. Soft sounds of surprise rippled through the chamber. The representative bowed his head in acknowledgement. "You want to know what humans really are?" Daniel asked. "We are everything. We are capable of terrible destruction, but we are also capable of incredible kindness. The question is not what we can do. The question is what we choose to do." He turned to face directly. "You call us prey. You say we smell weak. But prey does not cross the galaxy to help strangers. Prey does not stand in front of raiders with a metal pipe. Prey does not walk into a room full of predators and ask for a chance to prove themselves." His eyes narrowed. "Pretty words, but words do not change what you are." "Then let me show you what we are," Daniel said. "I invoke the right of challenge." Gasps filled the chamber. The right of challenge was ancient law, older than the council itself. Any accused species could demand a trial to prove their worth. It had not been used in 300 years. Laughed, a harsh sound like breaking glass. "You challenge me. You, a soft little human with no claws, no fangs, no scales." "I challenge you," Daniel confirmed. "Whatever trial you choose, wherever you want, I will prove that humans are worthy of respect." The council members looked at each other in shock. This was either the bravest thing they had ever seen or the most foolish. Stepped closer, his shadow falling over Daniel like a death sentence. I accept, and I choose the hunt. You and me alone in the wilderness, predator and prey. If you survive one full day, humanity earns its freedom. If not, your species will be locked away forever. Daniel did not back down. I accept. Lisa grabbed his arm as he returned to his seat. Are you insane? The hunt is a death sentence. No one survives against an owl. Daniel looked at her with calm eyes. Then I will be the first. Tomorrow, the hunt would begin. Tomorrow, humanity's fate would be decided. And Daniel would face the galaxy's apex predator with nothing but his mind and his will. He hoped it would be enough. The challenge arena was buried deep inside Prime. It had not been used for 300 years, but the station had kept it ready. The walls were ancient metal, carved with symbols from species that no longer existed. The air was cold and smelled of history. Daniel stood at one end of a massive circular room. The floor was smooth, but he knew it would not stay that way for long. Above him, thousands of spectators filled viewing platforms. The entire galaxy was watching through broadcasts. This was the biggest event in centuries. Arena Master was an ancient being, so old that no one remembered what species he belonged to. He floated in the center of the room, his voice echoing without any visible mouth. The right of challenge has been invoked, announced. The accused is humanity, represented by Daniel. The challenger is High Arbiter of the Owl. The trial chosen is the hunt. The crowd murmured. Everyone knew what the hunt meant. One predator, one prey, one day to survive. The rules are simple, continued. The arena will transform into a wilderness environment. Both participants will be stripped of all technology. Each will receive only a knife. The hunt lasts one full day cycle, 24 standard hours. If the prey survives, the accused species is cleared of all charges. If the prey is caught, the accused species accepts whatever judgment the council decides. Stood at the opposite end of the arena. He had removed his formal robes and now wore only simple cloth. His scales gleamed under the lights, and his muscles rippled with every breath. He looked like what he was, a perfect killing machine built by millions of years of evolution. Daniel's crew had come to see him before the trial. Lisa had tried to talk him out of it. Dr. Cooper had offered medical advice. Park, the engineer, had tried to sneak him a communication device, but the arena masters had found it. Only the youngest member of his crew, Ensign Tors, had asked the right question. Why are you doing this? She had asked. You could have refused. We could have fought the vote differently. Daniel had thought about his answer for a long time. Because running away never solves anything. Because if we hide in our solar system, we will always be prey in their eyes. The only way to earn respect is to stand up and prove we deserve it. But what if you die? Then at least humanity will know we tried. Sometimes that matters more than winning. Now, standing in the arena, Daniel remembered those words. He hoped he would live long enough to see if they were true. Raised one limb, and the floor began to change. Metal plates shifted and folded. The ground cracked open and soil pushed through. Trees grew at impossible speeds, their branches reaching toward an artificial sky. Water bubbled up from hidden sources, forming streams and pools. Within minutes, the arena had transformed into a dense alien jungle, complete with sounds of invisible creatures and the smell of living plants. Daniel had studied this environment during his sleepless night. The trees were based on a planet called, known for its thick canopy and dangerous wildlife. The holographic system would create animals, weather, and obstacles. Everything would feel real. Pain would be real. Death would be real. Two guards approached Daniel and removed his uniform. They gave him simple cloth pants and a shirt, nothing else. Then they handed him a knife, a basic blade about 8 inches long. Across the jungle received the same treatment. The owl did not need clothes to protect him from the elements. His scales were natural armor. His claws were natural weapons. The knife was almost an insult. The predator will be given a 1-hour head start, announced. "Then the prey will enter the hunting ground. May strength and wisdom guide you both." Disappeared into the jungle without looking back. He moved like shadow, silent despite his size. Within seconds he was gone. Daniel waited. The hour passed slowly. He used the time to stretch his muscles and study what he could see of the jungle. He thought about his father, who had taught him to hunt in the forests of Alaska when he was young. He thought about the bears and wolves he had tracked as a teenager. He thought about the first rule his father ever taught him. The prey that runs is already dead. The prey that thinks is dangerous. When the hour ended, a gate opened in front of Daniel. The jungle waited, dark and threatening. "The hunt begins now," announced. Daniel walked into the jungle. He did not run. The viewing platforms buzzed with confusion. Every species expected the human to sprint away, to put as much distance between himself and the predator as possible. That was what prey did. That was the natural response to being hunted. But Daniel walked slowly, studying everything around him. He looked at the trees, the soil, the patterns of light filtering through the canopy. He listened to the sounds of the jungle, noting which direction seemed quiet and which seemed alive. Then he found what he was looking for, a clearing with thick bushes around the edges and soft ground in the center. Daniel began to work. He gathered vines and wove them into rope. He found branches that bent without breaking and sharpened their ends with his knife. He dug shallow holes and covered them with leaves. He created trails that led nowhere and erased the trails that led somewhere. The spectators watched in growing amazement. This human was not acting like prey. He was not running or hiding or panicking. He was preparing the battlefield. Lisa understood first. She grabbed his arm and pointed at the screen. "He is not running because running is what expects. Al are ambush predators. They wait for prey to come to them or chase prey that flees. Daniel is doing neither." "What is he doing?" asked. Lisa smiled for the first time since the challenge was accepted. "He is turning himself from prey into a predator. He is not running from, he is setting a trap." In the jungle, Daniel finished his preparations. He had created a zone where every path led to danger, where every obvious route hid a trap, where the hunter would have to work for every step. Then he did something else unexpected. He started moving. Not running, walking. Steady, constant walking in a large circle around the area. He left clear tracks, then doubled back and erased them. He climbed trees and jumped to other trees. He waded through streams to hide his scent. He was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Somewhere in the jungle was hunting. His nose could smell human fear from miles away. His ears could hear a heartbeat through walls. His eyes could see in perfect darkness. But Daniel was not afraid enough to smell. His heart was steady from years of training, and he stayed in the shadows where even Al's eyes struggled. The hunt had begun, but for the first time in Al history, the predator had no idea where his prey was. And that made all the difference. 18 hours had passed, was tired. This was wrong. Everything about this hunt was wrong. The Al had been apex predators for 10,000 years. No species had ever survived longer than 6 hours against them in the arena. Most were caught within 3. But this human was different. Had found the humans sent a dozen times, but it always led to nothing. Trails that ended at cliff edges. Paths that circled back to the beginning. Tracks that disappeared into water and never emerged. Twice had triggered traps. The first was a pit covered with leaves that nearly twisted his ankle. The second was a vine that snapped back and struck him across the face. Neither caused real damage, but they slowed him down. They made him careful. And careful was not how Al hunted. The spectators watched in growing disbelief. This was supposed to be an execution, a quick demonstration of why humans should fear the galaxy's greatest predator. Instead, it had become something else entirely. Ambassador leaned forward in his seat, his old eyes bright with wonder. "Do you see what he is doing?" he asked the beside him. "The human is not just surviving, he is hunting." It was true. Daniel had spent 18 hours in constant motion. He never stopped moving for more than a few minutes. He ate berries and roots while walking. He drank from streams without breaking stride. His body was exhausted, but his mind stayed sharp. This was something the owl did not understand. Humans were persistent hunters. Their ancestors had not been the strongest or fastest predators on Earth. Instead, they had learned to chase their prey for hours, for days, until the animal collapsed from exhaustion. Was an ambush predator. His species had evolved to wait, to strike, to kill quickly. Long hunts drained them. Extended effort burned through their energy reserves faster than any other species. Daniel knew this. He had studied owl biology during his sleepless night. He knew their strengths and their weaknesses, and now he was using that knowledge to turn the hunt around. In the council viewing chamber, Lisa explained what was happening to and the others. "Humans evolved on a planet where we were not the strongest animals," she said. "We could not outrun a lion or outfight a bear, so we learned to outlast them. We would track an animal for 20 miles, never letting it rest, never letting it recover. Eventually, the animal would collapse and we would walk up and finish it." "That is horrible," said. "That is survival," Lisa replied. "And now Daniel is doing the same thing too. Every hour that passes, the owl gets weaker. Every trap Daniel sets gets more frustrated. Every time he loses the trail, wastes energy searching." Understood. Daniel is not trying to hide forever. He is wearing down. Exactly. In the jungle, finally cornered his prey. He found Daniel near a waterfall, where the sound of crashing water covered footsteps. The human was drinking from the pool below, his back turned. It was the first real chance had in 18 hours. The owl charged. Daniel spun around at the last moment, but he was not fast enough. His massive body slammed into him, sending both of them crashing to the ground. Claws raked across Daniel's arm, drawing blood. Teeth snapped inches from his throat. But Daniel did not freeze. He did not panic. He fought. He jammed his knife into the gap between scales, finding soft flesh underneath. The owl roared in pain and pulled back. Daniel rolled away and scrambled to his feet. Blood ran down his arm, pain screamed through his body, but he was alive. Circled him slowly, one hand pressed against his wounded side. Green blood seeped between his fingers. The spectators gasped. No prey had ever wounded an owl in the arena. "You are full of surprises," human growled. "But you cannot fight me. You cannot win." "I do not need to win," Daniel replied, breathing hard. "I just need to survive 6 more hours." Lunged again. Daniel dove to the side and ran into the jungle. His legs burned. His lungs screamed. But he kept moving because stopping meant death. The chase went on for another hour. Was faster in short bursts, but Daniel knew the terrain better. He had spent hours preparing it. He led through every trap he had set, through every confusing trail he had created. Another pit, another vine trap, a false path that ended at a steep cliff. Grew more frustrated with every obstacle. His movements became sloppy. His breathing became heavy. For the first time in his life, the apex predator was the one struggling. Finally, with 1 hour remaining, tracked Daniel to a cave. The human's trail led inside, clear and obvious. Blood drops marked the path. This time there was no trick. The prey was cornered. Entered the cave slowly, his eyes adjusting to the darkness. His nose caught the smell of burning wood and cooking meat. Strange. Why would prey start a fire? The cave opened into a small chamber. Daniel sat beside a crackling fire, roasting meat from some creature he had killed. His wounds had been wrapped with leaves. His face was calm. Stopped confused. "What are you doing?" Daniel looked up and smiled. Not a scared smile, not a defeated smile, just a simple, tired smile. "I am having dinner," Daniel said. Would you like to join me?" Stared at him. In 10,000 years of owl history, no prey had ever offered to share food with their hunter. It made no sense. It was against every instinct, every rule of nature. "You are insane," said. "Maybe," Daniel admitted, "but I have been running for 18 hours and I am hungry. We have 1 hour left. I figured we might as well eat." He held up a piece of cooked meat. "There is plenty." Did not know what to do. His body screamed at him to attack, to finish the hunt, to prove his dominance. But something held him back. Something in the human's eyes. Something in the calm way he sat there, offering food to his enemy. This was not how prey behaved. This was how an equal behaved. Slowly, against every instinct in his body, sat down across from Daniel. The fire crackled between them, casting strange shadows on the cave walls. "You are the strangest creature I have ever met," said. Daniel handed him a piece of meat. "I will take that as a compliment." They sat in silence as the final hour began to count down, predator and prey sharing a meal in the darkness. The galaxy watched, unable to believe what they were seeing. Everything was about to change. The fire had burned low. Only embers remained, glowing orange in the darkness of the cave. Daniel and sat across from each other, the bones of their shared meal scattered between them. 30 minutes remained. Had not spoken in a long time. He was thinking, processing something that his predator brain struggled to understand. Finally, he broke the silence. "Why did you offer me food?" Daniel poked at the embers with a stick. "Because you looked hungry." "I am your enemy. I have been trying to kill you for 18 hours. "I know." "Then why?" Daniel looked up in Met's eyes. In the fading firelight, the owl did not look like a monster anymore. He looked tired, confused, almost vulnerable. "In my culture," Daniel said slowly, "sharing food is sacred. It means you see the other person as worthy of respect. It means you recognize them as more than just an obstacle or a threat." Shook his head. "In my culture, sharing a kill is the highest honor between predators. It means you consider the other to be your equal in strength and courage." "Then we understand each other better than we thought." Silence fell again. The sounds of the jungle filtered into the cave, artificial birds calling through artificial trees. Somewhere above them, millions of beings were watching this conversation, waiting to see what would happen next. "I was wrong about you," said finally. Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Wrong how?" "I called you prey. I said you smelled weak. I thought humans were just clever animals who had stumbled into space before they were ready." Looked down at his wounded side, where green blood had dried against his scales. "But prey does not wound predators. Prey does not set traps and create mazes. Prey does not share its kill with the hunter." "So what am I?" Met his eyes again. "You are a predator, a different kind than me, but a predator all the same." Daniel nodded slowly. "Humans have been predators for 200,000 years. We hunted animals bigger and stronger than ourselves. We survived ice ages and droughts and disasters that should have killed us all. But somewhere along the way, we learned something important." "What?" "That being a predator does not mean you have to be cruel. That strength is not just about claws and teeth. That the most powerful thing we can do is choose not to fight when fighting is expected." Daniel stood up and walked to the mouth of the cave. Dawn was breaking over the holographic jungle, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. The timer showed 15 minutes remaining. "I did not come here to defeat you. I came here to show you something." Rose and stood beside him. They looked out at the jungle together, predator and predator, equals in the fading darkness. "What did you want to show me?" "That humanity is not prey to be quarantined. We are not a threat to be contained. We are just another species trying to find our place in the galaxy, and we would rather do that as friends than as enemies." The timer reached 0. A loud tone echoed through the arena. The hunt was over. Daniel had survived. The jungle began to dissolve around them. Trees melted into the floor. Streams dried up and disappeared. Within minutes, they were standing in the bare metal arena once more. The viewing platforms erupted in chaos. Species shouted and argued. Some celebrated the humans' victory. Others demanded the results be thrown out. The noise was overwhelming. But at the center of it all, Daniel stood in silence. Floated toward them. The hunt is complete. The prey has survived. According to ancient law, the accused species is cleared of all charges. Humanity is free. The council chamber filled with a mixture of cheers and protests. Ambassador was smiling wider than anyone had seen in decades. Lisa was crying with relief, and the rest of the crew were hugging each other. But raised his clawed hand, and slowly the chamber fell silent. "I wish to speak," he said. The council waited. His voice had never been ignored. For 10,000 years, the owl have been the apex predators of this galaxy. We have conquered species and destroyed civilizations. We have ruled through fear because we believed that was the only way to rule. He paused and looked at Daniel. This human showed me another way. He faced me in the arena with no claws, no fangs, no scales. He was weaker than me in every physical way, but he outthought me. He outlasted me. And when he had every reason to hide and wait for time to save him, he instead offered me food. Turned to face the full council. I was wrong about humans. They are not prey. They are predators who have learned to extend their hand instead of their claws. They choose peace when they could choose war. They choose friendship when they could choose fear. He took a deep breath. I withdraw my objection to human membership, and I vote to welcome them to this council as full and equal members. The chamber was stunned into silence. Then, one by one, other species began to change their votes. The grateful for Dr. Cooper's work. The remembering the human captain who saved their colony. Even species who had feared humanity began to see them differently. When the final vote was counted, it was unanimous. Humanity was free. Daniel's crew rushed to meet him as he walked out of the arena. Lisa threw her arms around him, not caring about proper protocol, was laughing and crying at the same time. Even Quiet Park was smiling. "You did it," Lisa said. "You actually did it." "We did it," Daniel corrected. "All of us. Every human who ever showed kindness to a stranger. Every human who chose to help when they could have walked away. This victory belongs to all of humanity." Ambassador approached them, his ancient face full of warmth. "Captain, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome humanity to our community. May this be the beginning of a long and peaceful friendship." Daniel shook his hand, the same gesture that had confused in their first meeting. "Thank you, Ambassador. We will try to live up to your trust." Later, as the Horizon's Edge prepared to depart, Lisa found Daniel standing at a window, looking out at the stars. "Were you scared?" she asked, "during the hunt?" Daniel smiled softly, terrified the whole time. "You did not look scared. That is because courage is not about being unafraid. It is about being afraid and doing what needs to be done anyway." Appeared in the doorway. "Captain, we are ready to launch. What happens now?" Daniel turned away from the window. His eyes were bright with hope and possibility. "Now the real work begins. We have proven that humanity deserves a seat at the table, but respect is not given once and kept forever. We have to earn it every day with every choice we make." The ship hummed to life around them. The stars waited outside, full of mysteries and dangers and opportunities. So let us go out there and show the galaxy who we really are. Not conquerors, not prey, just humans trying to make the universe a little better than we found it. The Horizon's Edge jumped into hyperspace, carrying humanity's new ambassadors toward an uncertain but hopeful future. Behind them watched the ship disappear. For the first time in his long life, the apex predator felt something new. Respect, true respect. for a species that had taught him the most important lesson of all. The greatest predators are not those who take life. They are those who choose when to give it mercy.